Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And it is weird weather outside. We woke up to snow and sleet and gray outside. It's a sad day on top of being stuck inside. I can literally see like the snow and the ice on our patio out there. I'm like, could we please just have one really nice day outside? To be able to sit outside and read or just walk around or whatever. So I'm starting to feel the cabin fever a little bit. So I thought, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read some meditations. I pulled out 3 different books and I kind of skimmed the meditations to see which ones I thought were good meditations for today. So I'm going to start with the Daily Book of Positive Quotations. I don't know if I'll make it through all 3. We'll just have to see. And it is for March 22nd, Perspective. We are all something, but none of us are everything. Blaise Pascal. Do we think too much of ourselves or too little? We may have tendencies towards one end of the spectrum or the other, or we may go back and forth between 2 extremes, convinced of our importance one day and our insignificance the next. We all have a place in the world that is significant. We all matter. The trick is not to think that we matter more than anyone else in the world. I can be happy with my place in the world without distorting it one way or another. Interesting meditation. I think I'm definitely somebody that thinks less of myself than more. I think it's something that I've struggled with probably the majority of my life. You know, I had people in my life, mentors, role models, you know, family members, friends of my family when I was growing up, adults, that really built me up and believed in me. But when I would go to school and I was bullied and people would make fun of me and whatnot, it kind of like broke down a lot of that. And so it was like I went back and forth from having, you know, all these people that believed in me and told me, you know, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. And, you know, if I acted, you know, funny at home and was putting on shows and whatever, like they applauded that and they liked that. But then doing that at school was frowned upon and I was made fun of it. So I didn't really ever know growing up, like, you know, how am I truly myself? You know what I mean? Like I had to stop the video because we got some Amazon boxes at the door. We got our dog food and dog treats that we had ordered. Okay, but what I was talking about was that, you know, like when I was growing up, my confidence was coming from a point of where all the adults in my life were very supportive of me. But the kids in my life were not very nice to me, right? So it went back and forth between this. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know who I should be. And like, you know, if I was at home and I acted like, you know, putting on a show and I was real extravagant or whatever, you know, that was applauded. Like people didn't, I never had any adult, you know, say to me, you shouldn't act that way or you shouldn't be that way or whatever. But when I was at school, if I even just for 1 second did that, it was made very clear to me that wasn't how I should be acting, you know? And it was interesting because we were watching RuPaul's Drag Race last night. And this seems to come up on every season with at least one queen on RuPaul's Drag Race. And one of the queens, I think it was Nikki, was being told that like her personality isn't showing on stage. And you know, that's something that when I was younger, I really had a hard time like showing my personality because I had this like private personality like when I was at home and I was around people that I felt comfortable with. And it even takes me a really long time to get comfortable around, you know, even like with my husband or with my best friend. It took like, you know, years for me to like act a little crazy or whatever. And at any time that anybody would, you know, like shame me for that, like all of a sudden I withdrew. And I was like, okay, never act like that again. And that goes all the way back to, you know, how I was when I was a kid. That I would, you know, feel so comfortable all of a sudden around somebody, and then somebody would look at me in a strange way, or they would shame me for that, and I would realize quickly that, you know, how I was acting or who I was not the right thing to do. And in fact, there was an Indigo Girls song, and it's called Least Complicated, and she says in there something about I always did the wrong thing, and I don't know how she says the line, but I so relate to that line so much, you know, that I grew up, you know, always just feeling like whatever I was doing or my response to something or, you know, whatever, it was not the right thing to do. What I've realized is, you know, and I think that's why role models of mine about the way that they looked at the world, not necessarily their whole lives. Anytime I say Janis Joplin was a role model of mine, people are like, yeah, but look at how she lived her life. And I do think that it's really sad in the way that she lived and died, with drinking and drugs. But, I think that, like, some of the Janis's ideas of, of just, like, let's all be weird people together and, be who you are inside of yourself. And I think it's one of the reasons why, I love the YouTuber Amelia Fart. And people that are just genuinely themselves inside, and they truly, truly, like, that's who they are. Like, they just express themselves, I'm so attracted to that. And one of the things I think I fought most of my life is that if I look, quote unquote, normal on the outside in just a hoodie and a sweatshirt, then that means that I'm not, like, extravagantly showing who I am, or that, like, I've done videos about this over here before. Like, does my soul match my clothes? Like, who am I on the outside? Does it match the inside? And what I realized today is it's just about being who you are, truly being comfortable with that, and allowing yourself to feel comfortable in your own skin. I think that the sad thing about it is the majority of us that have had people look at us from a critical eye. When I talked about the Toni Morrison thing in here, where she said that, when children come in a room, they look and they say, they think to themselves, do your eyes light up? When a child walks in a room, he's looking at the adult, or she's looking at the adult, and they're thinking, do your eyes light up? Because most parents, most adults are trained to look at a child with a critical eye. Do you have your socks on, and your pants pulled up? Do you have your belt on? Are you ready to go to school for the day? Blah, 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 whatever. Most adults look at children with a critical eye, okay? And she talked about that on there. But what children are looking for is when you walk in a room, do your eyes light up? I think as adults, we still look for that same thing. We still look at our friends and our family members and our coworkers and our supervisors especially, People in our life that we look for validation and acceptance. We look up to those people and we think, when we walk in a room, do your eyes light up? I know I still do, Whether I walk in a room with my best friend, or into, a recovery meeting, or with my sponsor, or with my husband, probably, most likely, that I walk in and I think, do their eyes light up? Are they excited to see me? Are they happy to see me? Do I mean something to them? Do I matter? I think those are things I'll probably struggle with my whole life. And I think that once we start realizing that, and I think the majority of the people that are probably watching this video, there's probably a few out there that are like, oh no, I never struggled with that. But I think most people do, and I think most of us, throughout our whole life struggle with that. And by the time that you realize, screw it, I don't really care, I'm just going to be myself, most of our lives are gone anyway. So then it's about enjoying the rest of our lives just being who we finally have felt comfortable in our own skin. Let's just stay there and be comfortable in our own skin and just be whoever we want to be, and we can cry if we need to cry, and we can laugh if we need to laugh, and we don't need to be ashamed of that. We don't need to be embarrassed of that. We can dance around the room. We can do whatever we want to wear. We can, like that poem, I love that poem, when I am old, I will wear purple. It's like that. It's like, let's just be ourselves, whatever that means, And I do love the Janis Joplin quote, never compromise yourself, you're all you've got. So, lesson for today, live to the design of your soul. Be who you are inside and never compromise that. All right, let's move on to the next meditation. The next meditation I'm going to read is from Healing After Loss, Daily Meditations for Working Through Grief. And I started reading this, and I thought, sometimes I have to be honest, like I steer away from the reading about grief on this one because I think, oh, not everybody can relate to that. Or sometimes I'm kind of like, it's kind of a downer subject. I don't know that I really feel like reading it today. But when I started reading this meditation, I thought this really applies to the world that we're living in today on March 22nd, 2020. Like, I think that what is one of the things that is happening right now that we're not really even consciously aware of is that we are going through a grieving process of what the world was like 2 weeks ago. That we no longer have the same world that we were living in just 2 weeks ago. That travel is different, seeing our friends, seeing our family is different, going to work is different. We are literally grieving the loss of what our life was like 2 weeks ago. And it didn't even dawn upon me until I started reading this meditation. So I thought, this is a really, really apropos meditation to read, for what we're going through right now. March 22nd. I think I am beginning to understand why grief feels so much like suspense. It comes from the frustration of so many impulses that have become habitual. I keep on through habit fitting an arrow to the string. Then I remember I have to lay the bow down. C.S. Lewis. my mother loved C.S. Lewis, and if you don't know, C.S. Lewis was a very spiritual person, and besides writing like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and the Narnia Chronicles, he also wrote a lot of spiritual, actually like very Christian-based work, so I don't know if you guys know that, but if you're looking for something new, he did. In the first days, weeks, and months, the loss feels like an amputation. The nerve twinge as though the limb were still there. The nerves twinge as though the limb were still there, particularly if death has come suddenly. These involuntary impulses occur. We start to set the old number of places at the table. We count over, God, that's so true. I can't tell you in the last couple months how many times, like when I'm pulling the dishes from the dishwasher, like, you know, to like make dinner for the dogs, that I'll put 3 plates out instead of 2, like all the time. And then I catch myself, you know. We start to set the old number of places at the table. We count over 1 too many seats at the movies. Each time we catch ourselves, it jabs like a needle in the heart. But after a time, a long time, we may welcome the association as a poignant reminder of happy times shared and not to be forgotten. I recall returning home after the death of my daughter and saying to my son, "How can I live in this house? I'll see her everywhere." He said, "There may come a time when you'll be glad." Now, years later, as I walk through the rooms where she lived with us, I welcome those associations. Healing moves at its own pace. What is a burden one day may be a gift another day. Well, I have to tell you something strange that just happened in the last week. So, you know, Alex and I have been straightening up a lot around the house because we're going to be here, you know, not going anywhere. And when Pee-Pee passed away, Alex took like the blanket that he had been sleeping on, was one of his favorite blankets, and a couple of his stuffed animals that were his favorites, like Lady that I've talked about over here and stuff. And he tied it with this bow and this like ribbon very nicely to keep. And I said, and like he like was going to put it away, and I said, "I'm not ready to have that be away just yet." And he said, "Okay." He was like, "Just keep it out." And so for a couple nights, you know, we slept with it like on the bed, and then it moved to like the couch that's next to the bed, and it's been sitting there for like 2 months. And this week, I just kind of looked at it. I never pull it out. I never, you know, hold on to it. And I like grabbed it and I like held it up to me and I smelled it, and I faintly could smell pee-pee on it, you know. And I put it up in the closet, and I thought, okay, like, you know, I know it's there. I feel though today, like there are days that catch me and I'm just a complete mess, you know, over missing him and whatever. And then there are other days where, you know, it's not as hard as it used to be. And I think that that's how grief is. You put one foot in front of the other and you move through it, you know. The blanket and the toys are up there. I can pull them down whenever I want and go there, you know. And there is comfort in that. But I think that you have to pace yourself, you know. One of the things, there was something in here that I was thinking about my mom with this. Okay, wait, hold on a second. The first days, weeks, and months, the loss feels like an amputation. The nerves twinge as though the limbs were still there, particularly if death has come sudden. You know, one of the hardest things for me when my mom first passed away was the phone calls. Like, and I hadn't talked to her on the phone for like, you know, months, but it was like really hard for me to just not like be able to pick up the phone and talk to her, just over simple stuff. Like that was one of the things that I totally took for granted, you know, was this idea. I'm like, I have something I wanted to say, and it's like right there. But yeah, it was like, you know, phone calls were like one of the hardest things for me. I can't remember what it was I was going to say. I feel like I need to read over the meditation again. Hold on a second. In the past few days, the nerves twinge as though the limb were still there, particularly if death has come suddenly. These voluntary impulses occur. We start to see the old number of places at the table. We count over 1 too many seats of the movie. Each time we catch ourselves, it jabs like a needle in the heart. But after a time, a long time, we may welcome the association as, oh, okay, I know what I was going to say. So when my mom passed away, I found all of her journals. Like I had tons and tons of her journals. My mom had journals since she was 18 until like literally months before she passed away, when she was too sick to journal anymore. And I remember I just was like, I sat there and I had them all in these stacks. And a friend of mine that was friends with my mom too, she was with me. And I said to her, I just can't, this is just so overwhelming. Like it's crazy because it like jumps, like her journals jump. Like from one journal will like be like 4 years over here and then it like skips. So you have to find another year in between. It's crazy, right? And she said, what a gift. You have your mom's entire life written out for you. What a gift, you know? And I think it's all perspective. You know, I think it's all in how we look at things and, you know, how we see those things that were given to us, you know? And today, the things that remind me of my mom are nice reminders. You know, I don't get as sad about it. I still do, but it's been such a long time at this point, you know. I think for me it's still hard. Like the stuff with Pee Pee being gone is, you know, very, very hard because it's, you know, more raw in my heart. But I think that we need to allow ourselves to grieve at whatever process we need to. And, you know, if you watched my vlog the other day, I left Costco and I just completely broke down because I was like, all of the things in my life, small or large, that I took for granted are now gone. Like literally, like fountain pops with my good Judy, you know, on a nightly basis, or, you know, like just Alex and I going out to dinner. I mean, we went out to dinner 3 or 4 nights a week, you know, and just having that time with him out to dinner. Just all of these traveling with my husband. You know, we were supposed to take 2 trips in the next 2 months, you know. It's like all of these things that at the time didn't seem like huge things, now seem like just even going to the grocery store, you know, just going to run errands, like all of these things. And it just kind of came over me. It was like real overwhelming. And I just stopped there for a second. I was vlogging and I said, okay, I kind of need to like collect myself and just listen to music. And music is a way for me to cathartically like heal through situations. And so I just kind of listened to some music and I drove around and I felt a little bit better. And I thought, you know, we're going to get through this. You know, things are going to get better and eventually, you know, but we're going to get through this with hope and, you know, being motivated and being inspired. And, you know, my life could be much worse. There are people out there that, you know, have so little and don't have a home right now and don't have food. So I need to be grateful for the things that I have. And that's one of the things that is really helping me stay grounded through all this, is the gratitude in my heart for the things that I do have. So anyway, I'm going to not read the third one. Let me know what you think about, because it's about perspective and we just talked about that. So I think it's about perspective. Let me see, March 22nd. How did I, okay, wait, this is not the one that I pulled out. I must have I keep on pulling out a different, let's see what May 22nd is, because it would be fun. It's friendship, I think. I don't know what I looked up, but I thought it was perspective. Maybe I brought the wrong book, who knows? Anyway, let me know what you think about those meditations. I hope you guys are holding in there. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.